Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. Well, congratulations, you are at the second last lecture in the entire course and you've done really well. And you've gone through in this section, you've created your own serverless website using API Gateway and using Lambda. And then we've also gone on and created an Alexa skill. And don't worry if you couldn't get any of those labs to work. You really just need to understand what Lambda is and what API Gateway is at a high level. I definitely go back and watch the API lecture in the application section just so you get a better grip on it. But in terms of what you need to know for this section of the course and for what you need to know for your exam, you need to remember the different types of architectures within the cloud. So I like to call this cloud 1.0. This is the more traditional approach. This is where you've got your elastic load balancer at the front end. You've then got your EC2 instances, so these would be your web servers. And then they're storing data in a traditional database like RDS. So that's a very traditional architecture. It still is highly available if you make it that way, and it can tolerate failure if you architect it correctly. But it is limited in how much it can scale. Yes, you can have auto-scaling groups, but where you're really going to start bottlenecking out is your RDS instances. And again, it really depends. Like if you are using Aurora, it probably won't bottleneck out as much as if you were just using a T2 micro with MySQL. But it is not as scalable as serverless architecture. So serverless architecture typically would consist of API Gateway, a Lambda function, and then DynamoDB on the back end. And you are going to be given a whole bunch of scenario quizzes, and then you basically ask what is the best way to architect this from both a high availability point of view as well as a cost-saving point of view. And really, you should be going for the serverless architecture model. So API Gateway, Lambda, DynamoDB. So in terms of my exam tips for Lambda, just remember that it scales out, not up automatically. So if you have 5 triggers, let's say 5 people upload 5 different images to an S3 bucket, that's going to trigger 5 separate Lambda functions at any given time. Lambda functions are independent, so one event equals one function. Remember that Lambda is serverless. Know what services are serverless. So RDS is not serverless with the exception of Aurora serverless. Lambda functions can trigger other Lambda functions. So one event can actually equal 10 functions or 20 functions or 50 functions or even a million different functions if functions are triggering other functions. Also remember that architectures can start getting extremely complicated. AWS X-Ray allows you to debug what is happening inside your serverless application. And that's all you really need to know about X-Ray for the exam. Just know what it is. And then Lambda can do things globally. So you can use it to back up S3 buckets to other S3 buckets. You can configure your functions to run at a particular time of day, at a particular time of week. So sort of like cron. You can do a whole bunch of things with Lambda. So Lambda is a global service. And really go in there knowing your triggers, or even better, know what can't trigger Lambda. So that is it for this section of the course. In the next section, I'm going to wish you best of luck, and I'm going to show you how you can book your exams. You guys have done really well. I hope you've had a lot of fun doing this course. I have had a lot of fun teaching it. Do remember that we are a third-party training company, so if you see something in the exam that the course hasn't covered, please let us know and I'll update the course straight away. So keep being awesome, Cloud Gurus. I'll see you in the next section, and best of luck on your exam.